joining us on the Statesman podcast. I hope you're doing good. Before I go on, please let me kindly ask you to like and subscribe to our channel and share. Yes, sir. You can just click on that button on YouTube, and whenever we have new videos, you get the exclusive announcement, or you'll be notified whenever we have new videos. My name is Swat, and today, as part of the interesting discussions that we normally have on this very channel, we will be looking at the new Electoral Act 2022 that was signed sometime in February 25th, 2022, and put it side by side the 2023 election, which is just a few months away. How many of you have been calculating that? Well, there is a whole lot that has to be said about the provision of the new Electoral Act and the 2023 election. And these are the issues we'll be examining today. And I'm glad to introduce to you my guest. He is Honorable Elisha Ishaku-Gyang. Honorable Elisha is the Managing Director of ILAS Services Limited. And he also contested for the Federal House of Representatives in the year 2007 and 2011 for the Barkin-Ladi Riyom Federal Constituency under the platform of the PDP. Thank you so much for joining me, sir. Yes, good to have you here. Now, like I said, we'll be examining some of the provision of the new Electoral Act, which was signed in February. And just to, not to waste time and to just start, first of all, let's talk about some of the major, changes. Now, prior to now, the funding for INEC has been of major concern to a lot of stakeholders. Now, before it has to be vetoed by the Ministry of Finance. But with the new provision now in the new act, it establishes that the Independent National Electoral Commission Fund, wherein payments from the federal government and investment made from funds and other aids and grants shall be paid to enable the Independent National Electoral Commission, that's INEC, to perform its function. It doesn't have to go through all the bottlenecks and bureaucracies to enable it adequately, function. There is a new provision for grants apart from the federal government, but then also the major thing is 1 year before the election year is what the new act provides. How do you think this would help with funding, especially for INEC, logistics and a whole lot that they perform during election years?
Yeah, INEC is a very, very vibrant organization in terms of election in Nigeria.
Yeah.
The people who have been empowered by law to conduct elections.
Yes.
In the past, INEC have been having issues with funding because the federal government sometimes give them the money late.
Yes.
Or even at all, they don't get what they want. So issues of logistics, payment of ad hoc staffs, equipment become a problem.
Yeah.
But with this new law, INEC is very, very free now to access finance from international donor agencies like the European Union and other agencies who are willing to support INEC. The failure of INEC will mean the failure of democracy.
Yeah.
So nobody will want to play with that now.
Yeah.
That the world is focused on promoting democratic values all over the world. The other thing that INEC has been able to do that is of very, very, very important and tangible progress is the issue of electronic voting. That have been
One of the major
an issue since the inception of democracy in 1978. We started democracy 78, 79. The problem that we have at that time was the ballot box snatching.
Yes.
The ballot box snatching issue. And since INEC have been empowered, now they will deploy technology. So the issue of ballot box snatching is off now.
Yeah.
If you take a ballot box now, you'll be wasting your time.
Wasting your time, definitely.
Because it will not be counted. Now that INEC have a veritable source of funding, they will be able to deploy technology and then run the elections properly.
All right. So that's one great hope, and I know that it will go a long way at improving the whole process. Now let's talk about one other provision of this act. Now that is the provision for um, the extension of time for campaign by political parties. Now, the new act provides that the period of campaigning in public by every political party shall commence 150 days before the major elections. Prior to now, the old act provided, I think, about 90 days. Yes. So, I mean, how do you think this would help with the campaigning periods, which is just about to kickstart 28th of September? Do you think this would now provide better time to talk about the issues, to ask the right questions, to go through the manifestos of political parties, and then give enough time for citizens to make informed choices?
Yeah, that will help because in Nigeria we have a problem.
Yes.
Education, educating the voter.
Yeah.
Most of our voters are in the local areas.
Yes.
So if you give a short time, the candidates will not be able to reach. Sometimes they don't even reach the required areas, the most populated areas. So it's just an ad hoc thing. But now that they have been given more time, I think they'll be able to reach the interiors, where you have people in the villages. Like in the south side, you have people in the creeks.
Yes.
How do you access people in the creeks? Some of them don't even have facilities for transportation like boats and all this.
Yeah.
Some people who come from upline to go and campaign there, you can't do it. So challenges are there. But with this time, I think the candidate will be able to maximize the use of the available time to reach the election. The voter education on the part of the parties is very important. Though INEC tried to, but in this case, for the voter to know which party to vote for, the parties have to do that in their own interest. That is why now you see some of the parties have started doing door-to-door campaign. And they are now going from house to house, village to village, educating the voters on what to do when it comes to the voting time.
Do you think this is going to help improve? Because prior to now, I mean, I remember in the time past, it used to be a case of, hey, you just get the community leaders, buy bags of rice, share it for the community, tell them, okay, this is from party this or candidate this, and they don't even have time to go and meet the people. But now we're seeing, deliberate effort, like you said, door-to-door campaigns, making effort to reach people one-on-one and speak to them about the need to make informed choices.
There's a revolution. What the telecom system have done is far, far beyond any political party's control.
Yeah.
If before you could just gather a few people in the community and say, this is what you vote for, it's no more like that. And I think that's why that's what gave the cravers of the Electoral Act the information they listened to increase the time.
Yeah.
Now, the elections are not going to be the same like it used to be because of social media.
Yes, social media plays a big
And now, let me say 70% of the voters are youth.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. It is the youth that are controlling the system now. And these youths are enlightened. They know what they want. They know what a party manifesto is. They know who a political candidate is.
Yeah.
So if you think that you just come and stay in one place and collect some community leaders and give them what you want, it's not going to be so. The system have changed. It is a revolution now on the electoral process. The media will play a major role.
Yes.
Because what the youth are seeing on the social media is what will empower them to know who to vote for.
Yeah.
A political party cannot come and say they are writing elections anymore.
Yes.
It's not going to work. Look at what happened in Ekiti.
Yes.
It's a typical example of what we're talking about. Ekiti State, which is controlled by APC,
yes,
lost an election, a valid election. And it was clear that they lost the elections. So the scenario has changed. It's not like before.
All right.
Yes.
So I think it's a great opportunity that the Electoral Act has provided. Now let's talk about something. You mentioned it earlier, in terms of the ballot box snatching. Now, under the new act, where the number of votes cast at an election in any polling unit exceeds the number of accredited voters in that polling unit, the presiding officer shall cancel the result of the election in that polling unit. Now, number of accredited voters refers to the number of intending voters accredited to vote in an election on the election day. Now, under the former act, it is when the number of votes cast at an election in any polling unit exceeds the number of registered voters in that polling unit that the presiding officer cancel the results. But this time around, there is a bit of change. So, how do you think that would affect in terms of transparency of the election process?
The elections were more transparent than before because you see, before it is not that the law was not there, but the way they manipulate the law.
Yes.
Now, before, if you come to a polling unit, somebody can vote 10 times.
Yes.
That is what the electoral is trying to take care of. If you come to a polling unit, somebody can vote 10 times. There's multiple voting. Now, even if the accredited voters did not come, without the electronic, without the beavers,
yes,
the people still accredit and vote before now.
Yes.
But now with the advent of the beavers, it's going to be difficult. It will only capture people who are present, not people who are absent, and somebody now manipulate the system, accredit them, and vote on their behalf. It's not going to work.
So the beavers has really.
So the beavers are going to reduce a lot of shady deals in the election process.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for watching. This is still the Statesman podcast. We're looking at the new Electoral Act and how that would invariably impact the 2023 election, and trying to review some of the provisions that seems to have brought in some improvements to the electoral process. My name is Swat. We'll take this quick break. I'm seated with Honorable Elisha Shakudiang this day, and we're looking at the provision of the new Electoral Act, putting side by side to examine how it would improve the process and impact the process of the 2023 election, which is just some few months, by the way. Now, sir, Kenya just concluded their own election, and from all indication, it was an amazing one. We had lots of what do you call it now, voter monitors, people who went from Nigeria and all across the world to monitor the process. Now, I can't tell you in detail what it is that is the observation, but we know that we have seen some sort of change come in. Now, for me, what was really very interesting was the fact that Kenyans outside, in diaspora, were able to participate. And that's one thing that's obviously missing in the 2022 Electoral Act in Nigeria. I mean, what's your hope for, maybe we can't talk about 2023 now, but for diasporans, Nigerian, future elections.
No, we are getting closer. Before we started with analog elections.
Yes.
And now we are getting digital. And since we've gotten digital, in the near future, maybe in the next 4 years after these elections, we'll have the diaspora voting, because the beavers and the electronic voting act that will make it possible for them to do that. I think the next election, it will just be a matter of deploying the necessary infrastructure in the embassies, so that our citizens can vote from those countries where they are.
Yes.
And if you care to know, there are a large number of Nigerians outside who are politically active, who want to participate in the system.
Yeah.
And there have been change because of the platform that they stand there. I think INEC is improving. Okay. So by and large, we'll get there.
All right. Yes. Well, one last thing also is the exclusion of political appointees, who are stopped from acting as voting delegates or aspirants, and that is specifically a provision of Section 84, subsection 12 of the new Act, which stipulates that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination. I mean, that happened during the primaries, and I don't know, how do you think that impacted with the primaries?
Anyway, I want to, in fact, I was supposed to say that if Buhari had done nothing for this country, I think this electoral act that he did,
yes,
he signed, give this country a sense of direction. It is now left for the youth and the populace of this country to choose their leaders, leader of their choice. I think Buhari did this because he has been a victim of electoral fraud for a long time.
For a long time.
So he has to make the system work.
But it took him a long time to sign this.
Yeah, when he's going out, he want to complete his, his antenna. That has reduced seriously interference from governors, office holders in the political process in Nigeria. You know, before, a governor would just have an aide, maybe 3,000 aides, and they are now eligible to vote in the primaries. A senator will also have the same. So the senators will align, and the House of Representatives will align with the governor, so that the governor can give them their own 3,000 aides. So it was difficult for a governor to lose an election, or a sitting House of Senator or House of Representatives to lose an election. If they work in synergy with the governor. Now it's no more like that. That is why you see many senators and House of Representatives are not coming back. So this has reduced external interference from the electoral process. The electorate now are now, and look at what happened at the end of the day. It was not even the delegates that were even allowed to vote. It was ad hoc delegates that even voted.
But then we also saw a trend of money, monetization of the delegates. In fact, we're talking about dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars and all of that. And that was quite heartbreaking to see that as much as, yes, the Electoral Act intended to introduce something that would help, but it gave room for something else that showcased its ugly self.
Desperation for power will always have its own way. People believe in monetization of political system, and that is very bad. The electors themselves are guilty of the offense, just as the contestants are also guilty.
Yeah.
It is the electorate have given the contestants the clue that they need money. And it is the contestant cannot work outside the confines of what the electorate wants. The monetization process of election is what is giving us bad leaders. Sure, if you have money, you can buy your way. And that is why we have problems. If a person buy his way, what do you expect from him? He has paid you off. So he won't go and now recoup his investment. So we have a problem. The Electoral Act also tried to reduce or minimize monetization of the electoral process, but I don't think it will work. It won't work because the process has already been entrenched. And I look at it now. For you to run an election in Nigeria as a political party, you need a minimum for a presidential election. You need a minimum of 100 billion. A minimum of 100 billion naira. Now, somebody who is investing 100 billion naira into a process, how to recoup it back? He has donors, he has friends, he has this and that. So the process is getting messy, except and when they are the government or the laws are strengthened, the institutions are strengthened to reduce such processes, disqualify people who have found to be doing that. It will continue.
So what you're saying is that there's still room for improvement.
There's still room for improvement in the Electoral Act. The issue of monetization has to be taken care of, just like the issue of this Section 84 of the Electoral Act. Some people have argued about the legality of Section 84, but it is legal.
Yeah.
It's legal. The courts have declared it legal. So I don't think anybody has anything to do. We'll have to work with it. And that is the best thing that has happened to this election, because it has reduced electoral cases in the primary electoral cases. It has now brought that primary electoral cases will end in the High Court, not to Supreme Court, which now took us to so many cases of governors being brought out of office who have, and so it has reduced a lot of problems. Look at what happened in the case of Imo State, the elections of Hope Uzodinma. This electoral act will take care of all this. There's provision for what happens to a candidate when a candidate
dies. Yes.
When a candidate dies, what happens?
I think it says the death of a candidate in elections has, which has generated lots of bickering among political parties and the politicians in the past under the former act, leading to cases in our courts. So to cure some of the mischief in the former act, the new act provides that where before the commencement of polls a candidate dies, the election shall be postponed and shall commence within 14 days after the candidate's death. So I think that covers.
That's covered. So the Electoral Act is taking care of a lot of things that will not now have to come out and invoke doctrine of necessity and all these things. So the Electoral Act is detailed.
All right.
To protect
Details,
democracy.
but then still room for improvements. That's my guest opinion this day. And before we go, what would be your final words, to all Nigerians out there, with regards to preparing for the elections which are coming very soon?
These elections are going to be a landmark elections because we are going to witness a new wave of voting that is through the electronic media as electronic voting. It's not going to be the same pattern as usual. It's not going to be the same business as usual because the pattern has changed. What usually inform political parties' vibrancy is their spread. But the spread now is reduced because with the electronic voting, the spread of voting campaigns is now limited. Is now expanded to include a lot of things. But the spread of the elections will now be limited to the beavers.
Okay.
So the beavers are going to do the magic. The big parties should not be too complacent because they are new entrants.
Yes.
And those new entrants too, they'll work hard to make sure they have a headway in the elections. Everybody wants to win, so I think it's going to be a tight election.
No.
It's going to be a very tight election.
I think that's what Nigerians need, basically, because once upon a time it was a two-party kind of thing, or even one, but now we have more entrants into the game, and so we expect more things to happen. Thank you so much, sir, for coming over. I've been speaking with Honorable Elisha Ishaku Gang, who is the Managing Director, Ella Services Limited, and he contested for the Federal House of Representatives in 2007 and 11 for the Barkin-Ladi Federal Constituency. Thank you so much again, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for The Statesman for this week. We'll bring you more fresh episodes with equally interesting conversations to carry on. My name is Swats.